An Unholy Alliance by Dr. Michael Youssef. The Strategy of Dawa. The most difficult problem Islamists pose to Western societies is not terrorism. It's the Islamist strategy of Dawa. This Arabic word literally means invitation, and has traditionally been used to refer to proselytizing by persuasion. The principle of Dawa comes from Quran 16:125, "Invite all to the way of thy Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching, and argue with them in ways that are best and most gracious, for thy Lord knoweth best, who have strayed from his path and who receive guidance." Westerners, especially Christians, might hear Dawa defined as invitation and assume that Dawa is the Islamic version of what Christians call witnessing or evangelism. For Christians, witnessing is telling others what we believe and what God has done in our lives, and inviting them to receive Jesus. And for Mecca Muslims, Dawa truly is similar to Christian witnessing, but among the Islamist Medina Muslims, especially the hardline sect known as the Salafis, fundamentalist Sunnis who embrace the Islamic beliefs and practices of the earliest Muslims. The word Dawa is defined differently. Nina Wiedel of the Hudson Institute observes that Salafis often translate Dawa to mean not just invitation, but rather Islamic mission. Wiedel explains, for those thinkers that adhere to the broad-based Salafist ideology typical of the Muslim Brotherhood and related revivalist groups, Dawa isn't simply a method for spreading a spiritual teaching or performing charitable works. It is also an inherently political activity whose principal aim is Islamic reform and revival, leading to the eventual establishment of an Islamic state. In other words, Islamist groups such as the Muslim Brotherhood believe their mission is to establish a global caliphate through subversion, deception, indoctrination and recruitment, plus violence if necessary. Dawa is a strategy for achieving Islam's political goals and involves exploiting the freedoms of the West to subvert those freedoms. Ayaan Hirsi Ali observes that many Islamist groups in Western society have fooled Western governments by posing as moderate Muslim organizations that represent mainstream Muslim communities, and many have even received funding and official sponsorship from Western governments. Ali, however, lists a number well-known organizations that pose as moderate but are working to undermine Western freedoms. The Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, the Muslim Public Affairs Council, MPAC, the Islamic Society of North America, ISNA, the Internet Institute of Islamic Thought, IIIT, and the Islamic Society of Boston. She notes that the Dawa strategy of some Islamist groups involves claiming to represent the views of all Muslims, to artificially inflate their power and influence, facilitating the Islamization of Western lands, infiltration of the government and education system, and exploiting the diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) mindset of the left to form alliances with progressive groups and eventually take them over. Ali notes that Islamist groups have made inroads into many vulnerable communities and organizations, including African American prison populations, the Women's March, and Black Lives Matter. Islamists have persuaded news organizations such as the Associated Press to adopt biased language rules that further the Islamists' goals. They have also lobbied the United Nations and many governments to adopt policies for combating Islamophobia, resulting in censorship and the punishment of free speech. These international efforts are being heavily funded by oil-rich Islamist regimes in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait.